Hello there.
Hello there.
Welcome to episode 1 of What If Qui-Gon Didn't Die? My name's Jamie,
And I'm Sean.
and we are going to be asking that very question in episode 1. What if Qui-Gon didn't die? So a little bit about me. I am a Star Wars fan, but I would say strictly live action. I'm not against the animated stuff. I just haven't got around to watching it.
Whereas I have seen the animated stuff, but I haven't read a lot of the books
Yeah,
or the comics.
yeah,
So anything that's still canon in the books, I might not have much knowledge on. However, that's what YouTube's for.
that's what YouTube's for.
YouTube Shorts.
and the comment section.
The comment section, yeah. Oh, thank God, I didn't know that. Right, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got this wrong.
Yeah. No, it's will revolt. Yeah.
So in the very first, well, not the very first film, in episode 1, A Phantom Menace, we meet Qui-Gon Jinn, who is a Jedi Master. One of the best. What a guy. Underrated, some might say.
Yeah.
And as we see in the closing scenes, he ends up in a duel with Darth Maul. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, lightsaber duel in the entire Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah, one of the best. One of the best choreographed fights that they've done, especially for that era as well.
Yeah,
Because it was still quite new with CGI. It was still quite new with all the things they could do.
yeah,
It was a lot of physical work and less computer work. So
yeah. It was on that cusp of
yeah,
pre-Marvel, all
pre-Disney sort of things.
all the ridiculous CGI. Where personally, I switch off if I see too much CGI. I'm like, I'm losing interest.
You can have too much of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, agreed. It was on that cusp of, the lightsabers looked really cool, but the physical work and the wardrobe and the makeup all, and the choreography was real.
Yeah, and I think
that was real actors doing that.
yes,
And stunt doubles and
I think Darth Maul himself was actually played by a stunt man.
yeah,
Ray
and it's his
Park.
actual character. Yeah.
So all the things he's doing, he's actually doing. There's no extra person in there. He is doing that wielding. When that second lightsaber comes up,
It's the meme, isn't it, from the UFC
Yeah.
fight? No. But that's what happened. Everybody's the same, and that's why that meme's got floating around because it's true.
yeah, it
It
is.
is true.
Yeah. You just remember that there's certain scenes, and it happens throughout Star Wars in the various films where you just like, you're like, oh, most of the time it's Darth Vader,
Yeah.
but
Rogue One. Yeah.
So we catch up with Qui-Gon Jinn. He's with Obi-Wan, this Sith Lord. But they get separated, and Darth Maul and Qui-Gon end up on a one-on-one battle. Sadly, Qui-Gon meets his end.
He takes the lightsaber to the guts, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, the irony that somebody else might get chopped in half and still survive.
Which we have talked about, by the way. I've sort of given Jamie a few spoilers about that, but that's the thing as well, and it's funny as well because in the newer stuff, back to tanks are really real, and also plot armor's a thing.
Yeah.
So I think if that film was made now as a prequel sequel, so they made it now, but it's obviously based back then. I think they wouldn't be able to kill him with just a stab wound.
No.
He would have to probably cut his head off because there's so many things now which can save a character from demise.
Yeah.
That just a quick stab in the guts wouldn't.
It would have to be far more dramatic.
It would have to be. It was dramatic for us then, like we said. Lack of CGI, costumes, people. You know, the fact that we want Qui-Gon to, because he is that father figure to Anakin at the time.
Yes.
But now he would literally have to cut his head off, because everyone would go, well, what about the Bacta tanks?
Or
What about force heal? What about all these things you can do? And like, you just cauterize the wound with your own lightsaber, sort of thing. And you're like, but it's story.
Yeah.
He's supposed to die. He's supposed to die. So this is just a little thought of, what if he didn't die? What would happen if?
Yes, and that's it, isn't it? We know that the story progresses because Qui-Gon dies.
Yeah,
he cannot take Anakin as an apprentice, because he also has Obi-Wan. So we need Qui-Gon to die to open up
the avenue for Obi-Wan to take on Anakin, essentially. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it is crucial for the entire story arc. But what if Qui-Gon didn't die? What would change? What would Obi-Wan's story be like? Would Anakin have a chance?
I think he might do. I don't know about Obi-Wan's storyline though. Just touching on that quickly. I don't know if Obi-Wan would maybe have had Ahsoka as his apprentice.
Oh yeah.
Instead of them giving her to Anakin during the Clone Wars and Rebels.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And this is something we've never actually spoken about.
Yeah, we haven't actually touched on that. That's brand new today.
So that makes sense, because Obi-Wan at that point is not a master.
No, still a Padawan.
And actually, when he takes Anakin on, he's not a master.
No.
He's sort of honorary.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think didn't they say in the end that his trial was defeating Darth Maul?
Yeah.
So he only became a master because he managed to finish Darth Maul off, and then they went, "Oh, you can have Anakin now because you're Qui-Gon's protege." And Obi-Wan's like, "I don't know what to do with a stroppy kid." Like,
I'm only 15 myself.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I've got a great beard, but I'm only in my teens. But yeah, touching on that quickly, I think Obi-Wan would then have Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And I think her storyline would change as well.
Because if Ahsoka was 14
when Anakin took her on,
and how old would Anakin have been? He wouldn't have been much older, surely. He would have been 18.
I think he's younger,
20.
isn't he? Because Ahsoka's already... Oh no, Ahsoka's already at the temple when they find Anakin.
Right.
But I can't remember if their ages are too much different. Anakin can only be a little bit older than Ahsoka.
Okay.
Which means Obi-Wan, who's only a couple of years older than Anakin. I say a couple, but I mean more like 7. He's not like a full 20-year-old by the time he takes an Anakin.
He must have been about 17, 18.
Yeah.
I think in the world of the story, not in actual reality.
Yeah.
And Anakin's what, 10?
Is that how old he's supposed to
Or is
be?
he
I thought he was supposed to be younger than that.
Yeah, I think maybe 9.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
9, 10 or 11. He's got to be, because it's Amidala I'm thinking of. She is quite a bit older than Anakin. Yeah. You're an angel? Yeah, she's older than Anakin, isn't she?
Yes.
And that might be where I'm getting confused.
And then she never ages, whilst he suddenly
grows old and gets long hair and scars and
and
crow's feet and feelings and angsty teenager vibes. No, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I honestly do think that Obi-Wan would get Ahsoka.
I think you're right.
And then her storyline would change to the fact where she's not so connected to Anakin. When Order 66 comes in, maybe she'll be in the same place, but I don't think she would be where she is now, for example, with the Mortis bird you see in the series. That might not have even happened if she was Obi-Wan's apprentice, but that's not this podcast. So, I still think Darth Vader would happen. You know, I did start out saying a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, that I don't think there'd be a Darth Vader, but then we said that for the story to progress for Star Wars, there has to be Darth Vader.
Well, for a few reasons. One,
he's amazing.
One, he's amazing. Two, it's entirely, I'm sorry for spoilers, but it's a fictional story.
Yeah.
So you always need a baddie, an iconic baddie, and there is no more iconic baddie than Darth Vader.
No.
Even if he's not the ultimate baddie.
Oh, he's not the strongest bad guy, is he?
He's not even the strongest bad guy in Star Wars.
No, he's not.
But he's the most iconic
Yeah.
And he is, I think, the best.
Everybody knows who he is. Even if you don't watch Star Wars, you must know a bit of Darth Vader.
Yeah. And also, in Star Wars lore, there has to be two Sith.
Has to be two Sith. But is he really even a Sith?
For a moment.
For a moment, I thought, yeah.
Because his eyes went that funny colour, so he must be.
Oh, yeah, he got some dirt in your eye.
I hate sand.
Yeah. See, I was going to go on a little bit of tangent there about Darth Vader, because I saw a little short this morning about Jedi, and I can't remember his name. Begins with K, and it's not Kanan or anything like that. But he was a Sith and a Jedi.
All right.
So he had two lightsabers. I don't know if this is from a book, because I've never seen it before. It was literally one random scroll when I'm having my breakfast, and he had a red lightsaber and a white one, I think.
Okay.
But he was so powerful with the Force because he was drawing from the dark and the light, and at
the
times
hate and the love.
Yeah, and he could just use both. And that's what I think maybe Anakin.
He is the balance.
He's the balance, yeah. Literally, that's what, yeah. And that makes you think that's maybe what Qui-Gon saw in Anakin.
Yeah. And
every time I say Anakin's name now, I'm like, Anakin. But yeah, so there has to be a Darth Vader.
Yes.
And I think, it's what we said before, he would be Darth Vader, but maybe the journey there would be different. It would have to be Qui-Gon trying to protect him and teach him the ways to be the balance.
Yeah.
And maybe something will still happen to make him go to Darth Vader. But I think the journey there would be very, very different.
So there's the theory of Qui-Gon being like a samurai Ronin rogue character who sits on the outside of the council but has the council's ear.
Oh, very much so, yeah, I agree with that.
But what's important is that he sees everything. He's not blinded by the intense focus of the council being, these are the rules, this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon seems to see the objective and multiple paths.
Yeah.
Now, when people in the films refer to Anakin as being the balance, potentially being the thing that brings balance to the Force,
you are the chosen one.
They only want to see him balance it for good, never for bad or evil.
Yeah.
But that's not balance.
No.
So balance would be a bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
A little bit of good, a little bit of bad.
Like Ronin, like Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Seeing the objective of what's the best way to get there that's going to please everybody on all sides, but make people happy, bring that balance.
Well, I agree with you. And like you say, it's funny you say about Ronin, because Star Wars is very samurai-ish. You know, the sorts of fighting, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way the fight stances are, all of the different fight techniques that they have. They're all like numbered and
the cloak swirls
and the cloak swirls when he gets out of the chair and his little Ronin hair. That's what I'm trying to grow mine, by the way. I want Qui-Gon hair. But yeah, and it's all those things, and you can tell that when first films were very much taken from sort of old Asian lore for samurai and Ronin and all of that thing, and the very design of the lightsabers is because they're changeable. They don't, they're not all straight. They're not all just
they've all got different hilts,
just planks of wood and hilts and stuff. I mean, look at Dooku's hilt. I mean,
it's cool.
It's a lovely little. But yeah, it's all different, and it all works to. And even the master and apprentice is almost samurai-ish.
Yeah. Because
you would have a master and apprentice, wouldn't you? And you'd have somebody passing down those generations of knowledge to the next one. And yeah, I do like that analogy. But yeah, I lost where you were going with that, because I just got on the hype train of the Ronin.
You're Ronin.
He's just a.
Yeah, it's just that balance, isn't it? And I think that Ronin are more like, they're roguish. The whole point of Ronin is they don't belong to certain groups or gangs or
that's it.
Factions.
Yeah.
And although Qui-Gon would be regarded as being a pure Jedi,
He's almost a grey Jedi, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the terms they might use where, like you say, he's on the outside looking in.
The council have him in there, and they take his opinion on board.
Yeah,
but he's
and
not
give
a
him
council
missions.
member.
Yeah, yes.
Because he doesn't follow their strict guidance, or he listens to them and then he makes his own rules up if he wants to.
Yeah.
But then he'll go back and say, well, this is what I've seen. That's now your information to do with what you will.
Yeah.
Like a Ronin, almost a gun for hire. Except I don't think he gets paid. He doesn't need to, because he can just force grab food out and whatever.
Yeah, give me your money. Yeah.
Anakin, give me your money.
Anakin, give us your money. I agree with that. And when he finds Anakin for the first time, and he obviously jabs him with the midichlorian counter, then everybody had a little bit of a chuckle about it.
And they'll just thought he was getting insulin or something.
Yeah. What's the sugar levels like? But as the Star Wars lore progresses, and obviously in the animated series, it's quite heavily based on Anakin.
Yeah.
I think Anakin's journey would be very different with Qui-Gon. Would, for example, Qui-Gon have gone back and said, I found this boy, I believe him to be the chosen one. I'm going to leave Obi-Wan here with you, Yoda and Mace Windu, and I'm going to take Anakin off, and we're going to find some Jedi temples, meditate, try and be balanced to the Force, maybe see the Mortis that we've spoken about before from the animated series. Quick recap. The balance is the father, the son is the dark side of the Force, and the daughter's the light side. Anakin's supposed to essentially hold all three. Yeah. Like you said before about good and bad. You can't just have all good and all bad. You need to hold them all. I think maybe Qui-Gon would have had a better journey with Anakin. So maybe it would have been different when he got to Darth Vader, but then we need Anakin to meet Padme. If Qui-Gon took him off into the wild to the Jedi temples, he wouldn't have met Padme, and he wouldn't have met the Emperor, and then he wouldn't have, got so upset about Padme and worrying about her dying that then he then becomes Darth Vader.
Yes, which is
what we need.
The story progression,
we need him to become Darth Vader to then every other film or every other series book after that, it's all based around Darth Vader. It's difficult.
I think if he had been taken away, if Qui-Gon had taken him to anywhere else, solitude or somewhere quiet or somewhere with like-minded people where that external influence, politics is not there.
That's a big thing as well.
Yeah, and they make that really clear. I mean, I remember first watching Phantom Menace and them talking about the Trade Federation. I was thinking, what?
Yeah.
I want to see Jedi. I want to see fighting. I don't want to see political injustice. I don't want to see a trade blockade.
Yeah.
That's just
in space with a million miles between each ship.
Where people could easily just go, nope, straight through there.
Yeah. We're just picking apart holes, you see, but we do love it.
We love the films.
Yeah. We just like to have a little laugh about it.
But you've got to be critical to find the bits of joy that you like.
Yeah.
So if Qui-Gon takes him to these temples, if he's then able to train him in the way that he is trained, that grey Jedi, that Ronin, don't fight for anybody in particular, don't actually fight for anybody, but just be there to support when needed, but bring strength.
Almost like what the Jedi should be.
Exactly.
Funny that,
exactly as they describe themselves. They're keepers of the peace. They're not soldiers. And that's how they describe themselves. And that is actually how I imagine the Ronin should normally be. They're not there for profit. They're not mercenaries. They're there just to keep peace.
Keep the peace, show up when they're needed. And I think kind of that's the vibe you get when they're on the trade ship and him and Obi-Wan show up. Because they realise something's wrong. The droids are there and they go, oh, separatists. They use droids. Yeah. Even though droids are everywhere, but it's just them droids are aggressive, so they're obviously separatists.
Yeah, they've sort.
And then he does the cool thing with the sword in the door, doesn't he? And it's like
melts it up,
mounts the door, a hole in the door. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, he's very sort of grey and outside the box. And I think maybe he would have taken Anakin on some missions with him. And
Yeah.
maybe the Clone Wars animated series, or maybe the next two films after Phantom Menace would have been Obi-Wan and Anakin, but on a separate path to the Clone Wars, to what Yoda and Mace Windu are up to, and even Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It would have been one of those storylines which, like we said before, Star Wars is one big linear storyline, but all the films we love and all the bits we love are just these little feathery bits
Yeah, they are.
around the main storyline. It's like I said before, Luke destroying the Death Star. He's a tiny little bug on the windscreen, isn't he? But that is, we're watching him in the film, whereas actually if they pulled the film back to wide view, it would have nothing to do with Luke.
No.
It would just be
the
politics, rebels doing it as rebels, yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's what I like, and I think maybe another film would be more about, maybe they go with Yoda somewhere, and they show Anakin the world. Oh, you wouldn't have seen it, I don't think. I can't remember what it's called, but Yoda and Qui-Gon have both gone there to become Force ghosts, because this planet is so sort of influenced by the Force, and the Force is all around it. And Yoda goes there in the Clone Wars to basically learn to become a Force ghost. You can't just do it.
No, you need to have some training and time.
Yeah, and I think they kind of retconned that after the middle three films. But Qui-Gon does go there, and Yoda hears him, and maybe they would go there as a threesome, and maybe Yoda would be able to guide Anakin more as well.
Yeah.
Instead of giving him to Obi-Wan, and then them two are just pushed into the Clone Wars, and they're always on missions.
Yes.
So Yoda can't really have a... And this is the thing again, because Qui-Gon's gone, it's down to Yoda to be the all-wise and powerful one. But he's so busy.
And I feel like Yoda dismisses Anakin from the start. And at no point in that story does Yoda ever accept Anakin as being a true Jedi. I think they never give him master role.
Nope.
They always sort of keep him down. They try and keep him pushed down, because either Yoda knows something and doesn't want to know too much.
Yeah, maybe he does.
Maybe Yoda thinks he knows everything, and in his arrogance lets him slip through.
Maybe. I like the idea of him being a little bit arrogant, but then because the Clone Wars is going on and they're young and they need warriors, maybe that's why. Because he's not on every battlefield with Anakin trying to guide him. He gives him to Obi-Wan, who's also a little bit rash, who's also a little bit quick-witted and a little bit,
He's immature at that time, isn't he?
At that time, he does grow up. I mean, in the Clone Wars, he grows up, and by the end, he's obviously very mature. He's Messiah for us lot, isn't he? But yeah, I just think if Qui-Gon didn't die, Anakin would be different, and maybe it wouldn't be Anakin who was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be somebody else who was Darth Vader, and Anakin would then be our now Luke.
Yeah,
because he would have gone off and then come back like Luke did, stronger,
wiser.
Yeah, maybe it could have been Mace Windu as Darth Vader.
Or maybe Dooku would have.
Maybe Dooku, if Dooku survived. Again, another podcast. But yeah, I agree with you on the Ronin stuff, and I think Qui-Gon probably would have. I'm pretty sure he would have taken Anakin on
and found the balance
there after as well, because Yoda was Dooku's teacher.
Yes.
And Dooku was Qui-Gon's. And before Dooku was a bad guy, he was actually a very smart Jedi.
Yeah.
And he invented his own fighting form, doesn't he? And I can't remember what the form's called, but along with his special little saber hilt. And he was also very wise with the Force because he learnt from Yoda.
Yes.
So even though Qui-Gon is outside the box, he's got all of this knowledge and all of this understanding and how to meditate and be at one with the Force. I just think,
I think you can see with Dooku, he's one of the first people you see in that whole series use Force, pull and push
to such an extent.
To an extent that is actually becomes a weapon rather than just I want to open this door.
Yeah.
Or I just want to lift this thing out of the way.
Yeah.
This is now a weapon. I'm going to use it, and you're going to have to fight me and the object at the same time.
At the same time, because it's quite quick as well. Because they do it in the original films, don't they? But it's really slow in this one, like one box.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm concentrating on the box, so I can't do the fight and the box.
I mean, we should avoid this conversation. The only reason we should avoid it is because we'll pick so many holes in it.
Yeah.
Because Darth Vader's got worse
as he gets older.
as he becomes better at doing what he does, he actually becomes worse.
Yeah.
And the technology in 4, 5, and 6 is way behind the technology in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. A couple more points though. Back to the Jedi Council.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think even it, because they did offer Qui-Gon a seat, didn't they? I don't think he would have taken it even if he had survived and killed Darth Maul.
No.
Because, like you say, he was a Ronin. And even, I can't remember where it is, but Obi-Wan says, I think he says something like he's a bit of a maverick. So he wouldn't have taken the seat and therefore taken Anakin. And then in training Anakin, and I'm going to split off to my last sort of 2 points there. One point would be, Anakin would probably only know the light side of the Force, even though Qui-Gon wanted to teach him the balance.
Yes.
Because if you go to a Jedi temple and not a Sith temple, you're only going to be flooded with the positive light side of the Force, and not the dark side. So maybe if Qui-Gon did take Anakin away, maybe the galaxy would have fallen anyway, but to somebody else. Maybe even Obi-Wan.
Yeah, maybe.
Quite arrogant. When he's younger anyway. Maybe Yoda gives Obi-Wan to the Emperor to look after him.
Well, actually, that's a good point, because perhaps what would happen is Qui-Gon no longer looks after Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, as much as he's completed his training, actually isn't quite ready because he is quite immature. He's still young, isn't he? He's very young, and like you say, maybe he becomes the guardian for the Emperor, and because he's there, the Emperor's then able to influence Anakin. It could be anywhere else; it wouldn't really matter. But Obi-Wan would be in his place.
Yeah.
And it's only because Obi-Wan's looking after Anakin, and Anakin gets left there, that Obi-Wan's able to then go off and do the other missions and see what else is going on.
Yeah.
As well as looking after Anakin. I think that's a good point. One thing I'd say about the Jedi Temple, I agree it's all going to be light side of the Force. But Qui-Gon would still teach multiple paths to achieve the same goal. So this is the positive way that we are taught as Jedi. Inherently good Jedi. But if you were to take this slight route here, it still gets the same result. We haven't used Force Lightning. We're not gripping anybody's
We're not going to
throat.
choke anybody to death.
We're using only positive stuff, but we're taking a slightly different route. You're still going to be super strong, because you will be, because of your extraordinary
inherent midichlorian count.
Extraordinary count of midichlorians. So maybe that's where he finds that balance, because I don't think the balance itself would come from being able to wield Sith power and Jedi power. I think it comes from seeing that sometimes there is such a thing as a necessary evil.
Yes.
And it's not about wielding deadly force, it's about making grey judgments.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon would be perfectly placed for teaching that exact thing.
Do you know what? Yeah. And I like the fact you say that it's not just about the Sith powers, because I think people get very confused. Like, oh, he's a bad guy because he can do that. His eyes are yellow. You know, no. What makes him a bad guy is how he gets to his end goals, not what powers he's got.
Yeah, because Darth Vader doesn't have Force Lightning.
Yeah, because he doesn't use Force Lightning because he doesn't have to, but because his goals and his actions are bad. It's like the Emperor. Yeah, he uses Force Lightning, but it's actually because he just wants to have power. Yeah. That's what makes him the bad guy.
Yeah, that's why he is the most powerful, because he's
He's always gunning for power.
Desired for it, yes.
What I want to talk about next is, in the Clone Wars, Anakin ends up on a planet where the Mortis are, and some people call them Mortis gods. And what they are is they're a representation of the father is a representation of the balance, the son is a representation of the dark side of the Force, and the daughter's the representation of the light side of the Force.
Yeah.
Now, Anakin goes there with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. And a lot of that story arc is based on the son's a bad guy. He's horrible.
Yeah.
Nobody likes him, And he's trying to pull Anakin to the dark side.
Yeah.
Literally pull him in. And they have to fight him because the light side must prevail. Lord of the Rings, blah, blah, blah. Good versus evil. However, saying that, like we said, if Qui-Gon took Anakin off.
Yeah.
If it was Qui-Gon who took Anakin there, and they ended up there, and maybe with Obi, not Ahsoka, that probably would have gone a lot differently. And maybe Anakin would have learned to accept his fate, as you say. Maybe he will become Darth Vader, but maybe the journey he takes to get there will mean that he's not overconsumed by grief and hate. It's just he gets there, and the story will progress, but it won't be Obi-Wan's fault or the Emperor's fault or Qui-Gon's fault that maybe he ends up looking like that. And maybe he doesn't shun away the dark side. Maybe he allows it in and allows in the light at the same time.
Well, I think he goes with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan, being similar in age, is only focused on being light side of the Force.
Constant good.
Constant good. Anakin's a teenager, an angsty boy. All teenagers rebel against people who want to teach them.
Yeah.
You say this is the wrong thing to do. The first thing he's going to do is go, I'm going to go and do that. It looks like fun.
I'm going to do it again.
Qui-Gon, being older, more mature, being more worldly and wise, sees the good and the bad, but doesn't see them as negative things.
No.
What he sees is a combined goal. If he takes Anakin there and he says, let's listen to what the son's saying here about the dark side, we'll take on the information that he said. We don't have to use it, but it's information that could be useful to achieve goals. And we'll take on the light side as well, because we want to have positive force, and we'll combine the two and we'll become balanced.
Yeah.
We will take all of this. This will make us the most complete Jedi version of Jedi that we can be.
Yeah.
That maturity, that vision that Qui-Gon seems to show would just, I think, wouldn't force Anakin one way or the other.
No.
It would just educate him and open his eyes to the fact that you don't have to be evil
to be bad.
To be bad.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to use bad powers to be that way. And also, if you're good, you don't have to use those evil powers to be, or good light powers to be good. You can just be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Using whatever you want, achieve the same goal.
As long as you keep the peace.
As long as you keep the peace, yeah.
As long as you keep the peace. And bring balance to the Force, Anakin. Anakin, you are my brother. Because, yeah, and I like what you say about Obi-Wan being young and brash, because there was that scene, and I can't remember if it's live action or animated. He actually tries to convince Yoda and Mace Windu that Anakin is part of the prophecy, and I think he says, "But isn't Anakin the chosen one?" And Mace and Yoda basically say the prophecy could be wrong.
Yeah.
And that's because in the Clone Wars animated series and in Rebels and all the rest of it, Anakin is given Ahsoka to train, and he's very much like young Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It's banter, jokes, taking the mick out of Ahsoka, trying to get a 14-year-old girl to wield two swords and fight with a bunch of grown-up men who are gene-bred, in the Clone Wars. And sometimes he leaves her to do his own thing while she's leading her own little troop of clone troopers to do that. And I don't know. And even though he's trying to convince Yoda and Mace, they don't seem to buy it. But is that because Qui-Gon isn't there? Is that because Obi-Wan's been given Anakin, and Yoda and Mace Windu are only looking from the outside at a young, like you say, teenager who rebels? Whereas if it was Qui-Gon, maybe they would view it differently. Maybe they respect Qui-Gon a bit more because he was Dooku's apprentice, because he was that outside-the-box thinker looking in. He didn't have a seat on the council, but they did listen to him. Maybe they would have seen Anakin differently based on that, and maybe he would have had a different time of it instead of being just shipped off to the Clone Wars with Obi-Wan to basically fight
alongside
again and again and again, and it's just constant fighting. You must fight for good. We are good people.
Yeah, but why are we fighting? Because fighting is not a good thing.
No, that's it. Yeah,
it's contradictory, isn't it?
It's contradictory, and he gets very confused by that. And then of course he meets Padme, and they have sweet love and all the rest of it. But but I just want to say as well, and this will be my last point. I think Qui-Gon has to die regardless.
Yeah.
He has to die for the story to progress.
He does.
So we can have all these great ideas about him ever and Anakin. Maybe, we could even say, if he was a bit wiser back in the day, maybe he would have met Dooku, and maybe he would have brought Dooku back into the fold and not said, yeah, all right, we understand you're with the Separatists now, we understand you've got these views, but maybe we can work together, maybe take down the Emperor together.
Yeah.
And all of these other little things he would have been there for that actually influence a lot of the storylines, but at the end of the day, he can't be there.
No. I think in a perfect universe, if we wanted the universe to be at peace, Qui-Gon would have to survive.
Yeah.
Which is actually a massive responsibility.
It's a massive responsibility on his shoulders because he's a legend. Yeah.
When you boil it down to that point, if he survives, Anakin potentially is a better person.
And there aren't no more films.
No.
Because he would just meet Dooku and bring him back.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan would be fully trained and he would be okay.
Yeah.
There would be no Anakin and Obi-Wan turning, fighting each other. And then there'd be no Death Star because maybe Qui-Gon and Dooku would have worked together with Yoda to take out the Emperor. So that all these other things which branch off of Qui-Gon dying wouldn't be, and then we wouldn't have the films, and we just have nothing else to talk about. This would be the last podcast. Sorry, we fixed it.
Sorry, Qui-Gon. Time's up.
Time's up. Anakin!
Your particular set of skills are no longer required. Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there then.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up, yeah.
Yeah, right, well, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening very much indeed.
So we've had fun. It's potentially a car crash, but we hope you've enjoyed it as well. Yeah. And we'll put some links in the description for socials and whatever, and leave comments and talk about what you think would happen if Qui-Gon didn't die. Until next time,
Anakin.
Say goodbye, Sean.
Okay, goodbye everybody.
Stay out of the sand, everybody.
Stay frosty.